Call to order for the Williams County Park Board meeting. Roll call.
Barry,
Here.
Steve,
Here.
Brad, Corey,
Here.
Bo is absent, and David.
Here.
Okay, approval of minutes.
I scratched it out.
Moving on, financial update.
Is this one? Oh, okay. Good morning. Just a real quick financial update. You can see that our total balance right now is just under $400,000. Oil royalties for this month to take a little dip to 8,800, but still, right up there, better than it had been a year ago or so. Otherwise, financially, I will talk about a little bit later. One of the reasons why we will see this is actually goes through the end of June, or excuse me, the end of May, and we will see a little dip down because I did buy a new pickup. We'll talk about that as we go through. So that was actually our dollar amount as of the end of May, and we spent money on a truck and some other stuff. Otherwise, we're starting to see revenue from camping every day, and I don't have much else.
Just a quick question, if it's okay. Have you realized much revenue from the online reservation system?
Yes, very much so. So far, Little Egypt, which we started earlier than the other ones, we started that first and let that run out. So far, we've got about $6,600 in our system. To give you an idea, for the year last year, now some of that's paid ahead, right? For the year, the best year we've ever had was 2020 at Little Egypt, and it was about 10 grand. So we're at 6,600 right now. One of the big differences too that we will, before people like for the 4th of July would go down to Little Egypt 2 weeks earlier and pay for 2 weeks. Now they don't have to do that because they can reserve the days they want. So for this year, that will be a little different. Depending on how we decide to do our reservation systems next year, if we do something more like Lewis and Clark where it's 95 days out or however many days out, then those people still have to kind of cheat forward a little. But I don't know that that's what we want. We're not trying to make people go down and go camp and leave it just sit there and not camp at it just so they get to save their spot for the weekend they want. So while it may cost us a few dollars, I think it's probably the direction we want to go anyways.
Just another comment too, is I think then you don't have campers on spots unoccupied, so you can't mow around them or maintain the property around them. So this maybe leaves it open a little bit.
Or have to worry about other people messing with other people's stuff when they're just going to leave it for a week and, hey, I really want to camp next weekend, but I want my spot now. So, or get those complaints from people because we've also had people that will just drive up and pull and just park their boat there for a week just to take. So they've paid for their spot, but they want it next weekend, not this weekend. So I think as far as just, our commitment to our customers or our service to our customers is better this way as well. We do lose a little bit of money on that end. Same thing with Blacktail. Traditionally Blacktail the last few years has been 4th of July has been a $10,000 to $12,000 weekend. And that's because 75% of it is booked, 2 weeks out. And that's not going to be the case this year, but I think that's okay because traditionally the weekend before, a lot of times Blacktail is really quiet even though it's almost full because everyone's just kind of waiting for the 4th of July. So I think as far as service to our customers, it's exceptionally better. It will cost us a little bit of revenue. We'll just have to see how that all plays out. I also think that we're going to gain a lot of revenue too because there's a lot of people that now know they can go camping, whereas in the past they weren't able to.
All right, new business.
All right, 2023 budget. First of all, I want to thank the finance department, especially Christy. They make it exponentially easier to work through all this. Their knowledge and expertise really really streamlines the process for me at least. I'm sure all the other departments feel it's very similar. I should have brought my glasses today. No, that's okay. I'll just have to hold it just a little bit further out. And one thing, I guess, before I start going through this, I did have in here, and I emailed that out to you. I did have the quote for getting the rural water done at Epping, Springbrook, and Coteray Dam. The total combined for all of them, I think, was $95,000, right in that price range, or $93,000. That wasn't reflected in this budget. That's something that I omitted and Christie caught, but we had already gone pretty far down the path. So when we're talking about projecting for this year, whether that's in or not, that's not in this paperwork here. So just something to keep in mind. I guess starting on page 1 of the budget, it says in the bottom, Williams County Parks, starting with 298 Blacktail Dam. You can see right now, the way, if it goes through that whole first heading, as you go through it, the bottom line there after line number 7, $4,991.88. That is what is projected, right? The $4,991.88. That's what our projected final is supposed to be. Oh, yep.
That's what you could ask for a transfer.
Oh.
Go down to these boxes.
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry, the pages, the ones on the very bottom. So it shows our 2021 actual number, our 2022 estimated number, and then our 2023 estimated budget number as well. And so, Blacktail is substantially smaller than the rest of them. If you move on to the next page. Oh. So page 4 shows the entire Parks Fund 299, which is everything excluding Blacktail. Same deal. You can see at the end of 2021, we ended up with $470,000. We're estimated this year to end with a balance of $500,000. And so as it goes, if we keep going with our budget as it is, we'll be estimated to have $185,000 at the end of 2023. I guess that's kind of a tight number. $200,000 gets a little light on our end. Traditionally, the number of $500,000 has been transferred into this account to get us through, to keep us ahead. That's a number that Christie put in and recommended or suggested. I don't know if recommended is the right word. But I don't know what. I think we're financially we're okay now, but the budget moving forward, the budget we make, the only money we pull in is that oil money, a little bit of grant money here and there, and our camping revenue money, and we need to subsidize that somehow. So, the budget process moving forward, like I said, you guys don't determine if you can accept this budget, but the money comes from the county commission. They actually have to approve it. It would have to go into part of that budget if there was any money that you wanted to move into there. I guess I don't know. Any questions? I do know that Christie has also started a separate budget fund specifically for our capital projects. We already have $10 million in there. We're budgeted to put another $5 million in before the end of the year, and then we're on schedule to do that the rest of the next 4 years moving forward till we get to that $35 million mark.
right, rural water updates?
Rural water I have, on, looks like one, two, three, fourth backside of the fourth page. I got a quote from Prairie Wind Services, for 3 different spots, 2 at Coda Ray Dam, if you're familiar with Coda Ray. The south part, south of the lake, we currently, that's where it's currently developed. And then just to the north of the lake, we own land there as well, and we have, as part of our master plan, to develop that. Currently, we don't have drinking water there. We have non-potable well water there. The price to get the water to each of those sites is, or to get to those sites total is going to be about $30,000 to get the 2 sites together. And then the other one is for Epping Springbrook Dam, and that one is $64,000. The reason for that is we have to come from the neighbor's house. It's quite a long run, 3,500 feet, before we get to rural water. So it's just a long run. The Coda Ray ones are pretty easy. They're right across the road. Currently, we don't have drinking water at either of these parks. State Century Code, and I've been working with the health department on this. State Century Code requires that we have drinking water. We've been working towards it. There's a lot of things that we've been working towards. So this is some step we have to make at some point anyways. I don't know if it's right to do it right now. I think it is, just so we can get it done and move forward. But I also know that we have a lot of money we're going in the future. I have talked to Prairie Winds and with Candace about where the best place to put it in. I'm not worried about like having to redo work. Our goal is basically just to get a meter and a spigot so we can have it there, and then we can provide drinking water, be compliant with Century Code. We do have water at Little Egypt. We have that well, and we're on the state public water system. I'm looking at seeing what it would cost to get us on rural water there, and Blacktail's already on rural water. The next step is we'd have to decide what we want to do with McGregor, because we are not on rural, we do not have drinking water there at this point. But that wouldn't be through rural water, that'd be through R&T water, and I've already been in communications with them, and we'll kind of take that step next.
Jeremy, is this something they can complete this year yet?
Yes, they're ready to go.
And the line that they put in is gonna be sufficient for upgrading to our master plan?
Correct.
So does it have to be bored? I mean, and then, I guess my thought, nothing against Prairie Winds, but we should probably look at more than one quote on this.
Yep.
Because
I'll tell you what, for whatever reason, I did have another company. I did have another company that I was getting pricing from, and both of them I ran into hiccups just getting the pricing. Prairie Winds ended up with that big oil spill up by McGregor. That became their job, and then the other company I was working with, same deal. I was kind of pushing them to get pricing for it, and I haven't yet. So I have no problem going and making sure we get competitive pricing. I was trying to, it just didn't pan out. The goal was to have it for this meeting, and it just didn't get done. I do think the Epping or the Coda Ray one we have to bore, just because all it is going under the road. That's all we're doing. The Epping one, maybe not, because that's just got to go. That's on the same side of the road. It's just got to go a long ways.
So which one? I mean, there's one here for 3,500 feet, which,
That's Epping Springbrook.
so is it going like the length of the road?
No, that one I said maybe we don't have to bore, because that one's on the same side of the road. That one is coming. It come from the direction of Epping. It's coming from the direction of Epping. There's a police officer that lives there, so doesn't list his name as who owns the property, but it goes to the corner of his house.
Well, and I don't have any problem with the boring.
Yeah.
I just would like to see another number from
I
somebody
agree.
else. If,
Okay. And then, like I said, the Coda Ray one is just across the street. I mean, you have to bore because it's just going under the road. It's right there. They have a 6-inch pipe. There's actually is. Yep. And then right across the one at Coda Ray, the south one where we're at, where the campground already is, there is a 2-inch water line that goes through there, but they're not real sure. It was put in a long time ago before they put tracing wire on, and they're not real sure where it is, and it's not much to go right underneath, just across the road. But yeah, I have no problem getting pricing. I was hoping to have pricing from multiple companies here, it just didn't pan out.
Be easier for us just to advertise for bids than having you run around to all these places and nobody gives you, or says they're gonna give you
yep.
one and nobody gives you one. I
We
think it'd be better if we just advertise it and we set a date and then we accept the bids at that time.
Well-
And if we do that, I have no problem if only one shows up, but at least then
Yep.
we've given everybody the
Yep.
fair shot at it. Maybe a couple phone calls to say, hey, this is out.
The only thing is, and I don't know, maybe you guys know, I know that when I got my, when I had to fill in my application for rural water, I had to put down my contractor, and then also, then when they approved it, they sent it to me, and then they gave me a list of their approved contractors. And it was maybe 6 or 7 plumbers and a dozen contractors.
Well, that can be part of the.
Put that right on your bid.
Bid sheet.
Okay, must be approved by rural water.
Yeah,
Yep,
that's what
okay.
it said.
Must have authorization from rural water.
Yep, that's,
Okay, discussion items, starting with I know you talked a little bit about the My Sites reservation and how that's going.
yeah, it's going okay. We definitely have some hiccups. Lindsay has definitely been putting in some admin time. We've had some different problems with as far as, yeah, anything that gets refunded has to be refunded manually. There's been some issues with people that when they go in and change sites, so they go in and they make a reservation and then they start changing things around, and it's kind of messed up with our system. So there has been some quirks to get through. There's also been some manpower as far as us making sure it's marked, what's available, what's not. We did just last week open up Blacktail, Epping, Springbrook, and Coteray, all last week. And they're filling in nicely, but there's also a combination of some quirks in the system and also user error. Definitely got a learning curve to go there as well. But I think we're stepping in the right direction. I think we'll get there. Otherwise, that's it. Keep moving forward on it. Well, I'm just not sure. I'm just not sure about McGregor. As we've gone through, I'm not sure when it's appropriate or how badly we need to get that reserved. We don't sell out McGregor. It's hard to get there. Last year I had a guy that worked for me, a teacher who did a good job, and this year his kids are getting older and he's chasing them around and didn't want to work this summer. It's just harder to get out there and to make sure that things are posted appropriately as what's reserved and what's not. So I've just been a little leery of releasing that one quite yet.
Does that work, Jeremy?
As far as,
As far as is signage, I apologize, I haven't looked for signage.
Yep.
Is signage state, please reserve your spot.
yeah, right now there's signage that states that there's a little QR codes, you can just go and scan and go right to the website, show what's available. And then also right now, we also have signs up there that have my phone number on there that say, hey, don't get real comfortable, call me first, get a hold of me, so I can make sure so I can make sure we have, you're not going into you're not moving in tomorrow and you're gonna stay for a week, but then 3 days from now, someone else is supposed to take that site.
Have you had that issue?
Not too bad. I've had people stay in touch and contact me so far. We had one guy the day we opened it at Blacktail. The day we opened it at Blacktail, one guy reserved a site, and then he was supposed to check in that night, and he didn't come in. And then sometime that night or the next morning, someone else came in and took that site. And our envelopes we pay out, they don't have great information on there. We got vehicle information and a person, but we don't have a phone number. So we did have that one customer who was a little upset, but I was at the park at the time and I was able to make it work. But that's been our incident so far, and that was kind of the day we opened it. So I don't know. We'll see. Well, that's been our biggest deal. He was upset for a minute, but we got him into a new spot that worked for him, and he was good.
One One quick question back to the quote for the water.
Yeah.
Did we just make this unfair for these guys? Because this is now part of the public record?
Yeah, Yeah.
Right.
right. And I don't know how many people are, I mean, possibly, but how many people are gonna come back and look at the minutes to find it? If they just see a quote, this is it.
Okay.
And they can also, and they can also change their price too.
I was just gonna say, they can change their price, and are they strictly a boring company? They actually will
They do a ton of.
trench too. Yeah, so they can change that quote upon your
Mm-hmm.
re-request of information
Yep.
or stipulations.
Just was dawning on me that that might be a issue.
200,000? What's the minimum amount? Or what's the amount that you have to bid something out at? What's the dollar amount? For dirt work?
Any public work?
If you're gonna build a public structure, I believe it's 150. Are you gonna be building something?
Installing a water line,
How much is it gonna cost?
$92,000.
That doesn't require a bid.
What was your response? I'm sorry.
It doesn't require a bid.
It doesn't require a bid.
But my fear is that the construction season's going quick.
No, I know, I agree, but I'm thinking the same thing, Steve, because by the time we bid it, if we don't have to bid it, you know, you're looking at least another month to 6 weeks.
Although it doesn't require a bid because it's under the threshold, I mean, generally, you know, public entities have to get something at fair market value, really. So it's like, I'm just saying that if you get something done for less, I mean, you'd really want to look into something like that, so.
Aaron, if he inquires and doesn't get other bids, then what do we do?
Then I guess you can decide to go with the bid that you have, really, then, as long as you've, like, you know, let it out, you know, as long as you've, you know, tried to find, you know, some other comparable price or a fair price or different price.
Well, and there's more than one boring company around, so we should be able to at least get another quote on this because, and if you go from boring to trenching, it's a huge difference. I mean, if they, even if it's from Prairie Winds, I mean, we're not even talking apples to apples here. They could change that bid by several $1,000s very easy.
Would you trench 8 feet down? Is trenching gonna be cheaper at 8 feet? I mean, it gotta be.
It
8 feet.
happens. I mean, boring's not cheap.
Oh, I know it's.
Boring's expensive. 3,500 feet's a big bore.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not as versed as maybe some of you, but I was really really interested about boring, especially because the topography of that land right there isn't flat either. So I mean, how often are you 8 feet down the whole way? I mean, yeah. Yeah. But then what other utilities are there?
Question for you, Karen, if I may. Can we make a motion to have Jeremy and Corey inquire on these bids to what we need to do with, and authorize them to approve up to $100,000? So this can get going and get done?
You could.
Okay. You sound.
You know, I just want to make sure that you're not asking them to report back to you, because if you're asking Jeremy and Corey to report back to you, you've formed a committee, basically, and so I don't want you to do that. Yeah.
My motion would be if it was okay for Corey and Jeremy to pursue cost to put these lines in and authorize them to go ahead and approve whoever's the lowest up to $100,000.
I guess if, yes, the board can make that motion, yes.
I'm gonna make that a motion to move this along.
Motion, any seconds?
Second.
You're okay with that, Corey?
Well, actually, probably not, only because our company does that kind of stuff. So I don't think you want me, and we're not gonna bid this. We want nothing to do with it, but I just want that,
Well, then it's
That-
not a conflict. It doesn't matter, right, Karen?
Well, if there's a potential for Corey's company to bid on something like this, then you don't want him involved in the thing.
Barry, would
But-
you're familiar with dirt work and stuff?
sorry.
No, you're fine. That's fine. I appreciate your honesty. Okay. I'm gonna amend my motion, Mr. Chairman, to eliminate you and add Mr. Ramberg.
Okay, do we have to redo that second?
Yes, I'm good with that.
Okay, motion and a second. Any more discussion on that? Okay, roll call vote?
Steve,
Yes.
Brad,
Yes.
Corey,
Yes?
Shanda,
Yes.
David,
Yes.
Barry,
Yes.
I am, yep, we'll get it done.
I have one question. Where's the money, since this wasn't budgeted, correct?
Correct.
So I'm looking more past you, Jeremy, sorry.
I have to push that apparently. Where's the money for the $93,000?
Well, we just approved up to 100.
Up to 100? It's in the budget, it's just something we'd have to amend at the end of the year. And it might affect the transfer that would go out at the end of the year. But are we done with that topic? Can I hop back into 23 budget at one point when you're ready?
Motion carried. Back to 2023 budget.
Sorry, I apologize. Everything moved kind of quickly there, and I didn't realize we had hopped on. I really do need this board to approve this budget so that we can present it to the Board of County Commissioners. But I wanted to address any questions you might have. It seemed like maybe there were some more questions about the budget overall. Everything on this budget right now is an estimate. We'll present it with the transfers presented in this budget to the county commissioners. They, of course, can change that amount, increase it if they would like. We built everything on a 75% reserve in this budget to carry over.
I will make a motion to approve the budget that's presented and forward it on to the county commission.
We have a motion. Is there a second to approve the budget?
Second.
Motion and a second. Roll call vote?
Brad,
Yes.
Corey,
Yes?
Shanda,
Yes.
David,
Yes.
Barry,
Yes.
Steve.
Yes.
Motion carried for the budget.
Madam
Anything else?
Chair, I've got one question to jump back to the $100,000 question, if you don't mind.
Yes.
Can we put this towards our capital budget as opposed to our operating budget? I mean, wouldn't it make sense to take it from the 15 million that we're gonna have set aside as a capital improvement?
That would be up to you.
As opposed to denting the operational budget by 100? It would make more sense to me to ding the capital budget.
It's part of the long-term plan, correct?
Yeah, yeah.
Towards that, I would say you could if you approved it.
I'd like to make a motion to pull that money as opposed to from the operating budget, from the capital funds that are being set aside for future improvements.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second for the water line budget location. Any discussion? No discussion, roll call vote?
Corey,
Yes.
Shanda,
Yes.
David,
Yes.
Barry,
Yes.
Steve,
Yes.
Brad.
Yes.
Okay, motion carries. Anything else?
That's all I had. Thank you very much.
Okay, more discussion items, sale of park equipment, new truck.
Yep, we did sell a couple items. We put four items up for sale. 3 mowers and a truck that had been in an accident. We sold one of the mowers for $559, another mower for $1,500, and then the truck that had been in an accident for $2,007. So those, thanks to Karen's help, those have all been sold and are in the hands of the new owners.
So, the one that received no bids, is that still for sale then, or, I mean, or what do you do with that? 'Cause I was, well, I'd park, can anybody bid on this stuff? Me? Well, I wasn't too sure, I thought, that's why I was asking.
I think you'd be able to bid on it, but you wouldn't be able to participate in any discussion or vote on it. I mean, in accepting the bid though, really. Yeah, it's personal property, and when it comes to real property, no, you wouldn't be able to. Personal property, there's nothing in the state law that says that you can't.
It's beside the point anyway, because it's after the bids were accepted, but the one that received no bids, I didn't know if that was still for sale or
We
what.
talked about maybe putting it in with the sheriff's auction, rather than trying to do something else just to sell that one more. That's what Karen's recommendation was. Honestly, it is really nice. It's too small. We just don't use it. It's too small. That was the story with the other mower, the Cub Cadet mower too. It's a really nice mower. It's too small to be practical for us. So moving on to the new truck we purchased. We had budgeted to buy a new vehicle this year. We had budgeted $65,000. I had Dean's help. Dean Tangadol, our mechanic, helped me out. We searched extensively through town and had a couple options, and then Dean went a little further and found a truck in Bismarck. And then I went back and I pushed Dean pretty hard about giving him other options. Went back and searched around in town, all the dealerships in town again, to make sure what was available. We were really looking for a full-ton truck, a second truck to haul our dump trailer, haul our equipment. So we went back through and we did our due diligence in town and checked with every dealer, and Dean was still convinced that the truck we ended up buying from Bismarck was just the best option for us, both price-wise and everything that came with it. So we tried to keep it, we did try to buy it local, but at the end of the day, it was just, we got the truck we needed. Ended up being $61,000, so we stayed under budget for it. And we're excited to have our new truck. We needed it.
It's the nature of the beast right now. There's
Yeah.
just no-
I mean, and the other thing too, like there was at one point one truck in town that would work, but it was gone like that. I mean, as soon as we found it, it was gone that fast. So,
Okay, cleaning services?
we had Mr. Melby here last meeting talking about his cleaning services. We did work it out and we agreed upon a price. And he went through one time, not this past weekend, the weekend before, and cleaned all our bathrooms. I followed him without him knowing, I guess, and inspected. I thought they did a really nice job. We're going to do it again he is going to go again on the July 3rd, which is Sunday, and go through all of our bathrooms except McGregor. McGregor, we have porta potties out right now, so VacuJet takes care of that. But the other 4 parks he goes through and hoses down every single vacuum, backs it out, and I thought he did a good job. Price for one full day. It took him 9.5 hours from beginning to end, and the price for one day was $1,500. Two-man crew we went out on, and I think that that July 3rd, those holidays, that's really going to be helpful. And I think actually pricing wise, very, very reasonable. That's one full day of cleaning bathrooms and putting a lot of miles on a big truck. Yeah, and so we're gonna do it that holiday weekend, and then one more time after that, and then we're looking at, and then Labor Day weekend. That is something that when we went through the budget, that is something that our projected budget, we did include that in. So moving on.
Moving on, staffing updates?
Just to make sure you guys knew where we're at staffing, we're currently have six part-time or seasonal staff. Three of them are college students, two from the University of Gonzaga, and then one is going to be a recently graduated high school graduate that will be leaving for University of North Dakota. Both of them will leave pretty early in August, so they're going to be gone pretty quick here. But I think that's okay. I think they'll help us get through the brunt of the mowing and a lot of our other stuff, and then we'll be down to three part-time staff after that for August and September, which I think will work out well. One other thing with our staffing is that we have put in in the budget to request for next year for a full-time maintenance staff, parks maintenance person. We do know there'll be some. So it'll be on me and him to keep him busy in the winter, in our down season, but I'm pretty confident there's enough work for one more person. But overall, and then one other thing for staffing, I've met with Helen. We've kept it, the county has kept it, so Weeds, Vector, and Parks all keep all of their pricing of their seasonal staffs the same. In the past, there's been some issues with people jumping ship to the other one or wanted to be here or here. And so it's been kind of been a policy that we've just kind of kept them, or maybe not a policy, but just a standard practice for us to keep all those pricing of those the same. So we did, I've gotten lucky this year. I got some good guys and got those two Gonzaga kids, having them helped out, but I know that both Vector and Weeds were a little behind the eight ball and they're a little bit short on staff, and their boards thought maybe the price increase would paying them a little bit more would help. So we did go across the board for those departments and give a $2 an hour raise. So starting right now for a parks maintenance person or Weeds or Vector is $20 an hour. But staffing, that's kind of where we're at. I feel real good about my staff. I got some good young kids. I got some guys with experience. We got a good little crew right now.
Sounds good. Updates to the master plan?
Yep. Do you have that ready to go up there? We have our really close to final draft. This got emailed to me yesterday. I'll email it to everyone tomorrow, when I get back to my office. There'll be a link for you guys to go to. It's a rather large document, so it's difficult to email. The link will only be good for a few weeks, but there are a few little tweaks that we're not quite there, but it's pretty close. If you want to just kind of scroll through a little bit, it's very in-depth, very long. So I didn't know if you guys wanted printed copies. I didn't want to kill trees just for killing them, or just for that sake, if you guys are going to look on there. But I'll make sure you have all of it, and it's pretty thorough. Candace is listening in. I know she wasn't, she's listening in, and I know you guys have just seen this, so she has every anticipation of, at our July meeting, of you guys have an opportunity for any comments you might like. And she'll kind of go through it a little more thorough there, but wanted to get it in front of you guys first, give you guys an opportunity to look through it and see what you think. It is thorough though. Otherwise, is there anything anybody had anything specific about it, or are we just good with, you guys hopefully finding a chance between now and next month to review it? And we'll go through it next month. If there's anything you don't like, you want changed.
Now, and no discussion on the master parks document?
I guess I have just one question. It's not really about the master plan, but since Christie's here, July 19th, we're scheduled for park board and everything, along with, you have budget review scheduled. So something's got to move.
We usually have budget review, in the afternoon.
But it's on the schedule starting in the morning.
Yeah,
but-
we had to save it for the meeting so that it's marked as a meeting.
Okay, as long as we're good, I just didn't want us to all be staring at each other
No.
wondering where we're supposed to be.
I think Lindsay and Helen had already worked all that out, so we're good.
Good job. I knew you had it.
So I can get that printed out, because of course I'm a
Yep.
paper person.
Yep, for sure. Yep, you'll be able to print it out. You'll have to download it onto your computer and then print it out, but yep.
You might have to raise the assessment on everybody in order to pay for printing it out. But way to go. Fleecing of Williams County.
Yep. Okay.
Okay, if nothing else, parks updates.
No, 7 vendors.
Can we add 7 vendors in the parks? 7, yeah, yep.
Oh, yeah, number 7, vendors in the parks.
I've
That's
had a few different people, starting with Jordan, Zach Nelson with Ice, and since then, some people, everything from food trucks to kids selling cookies, to kids driving around selling ice, to fireworks. People asking me a lot of questions about what do we, and I just didn't have an answer. It's not something we typically do. I mean, full disclosure, we have had some food trucks in the parks. Our concerts in the parks last year, we had one company that went around and went to all our parks, and actually the payoff was that they provided the food for the band. That was the deal, that they said, hey, we can do this. Well, perfect. That sounds great to me. And then last year at 4th of July, there was a guy that was mobile in his truck driving through Blacktail selling fireworks. By the time I caught up to him, he was mobile selling, just driving through, and we kind of shut that down. But in general, I mean, we don't have anything in place, and just wondering what this board's thinking. What do we, I mean, it's just really, there's a lot of different variables. There's a big difference between this guy selling fireworks and Susie's ice cream truck rolling through, and I don't know how to, I don't know. I'm just kind of looking for a little input from this board and what we think about vendors in our parks.
With that being said, how would you enforce it one way or the other?
Well, also an issue. I mean, it wouldn't be too hard. I mean, between my camp hosts and people that are there, I'd know pretty quick if something's going on and people are selling stuff and they're not supposed to be. I do think that at some way there'd have to, even if it's a minimal, there'd have to be we'd want some type of permit. Even if it's just an application for $20, just if no other reason, just so we know who's there and what they're doing.
It's a really interesting idea, and maybe it needs to be considered in our capital improvement plan, is having a set-aside area with power, maybe, at a minimum, and if not, even water. Because I think it's brilliant, but I think you should limit it to food trucks, anything food-related. I don't think you want.
Yeah.
I don't think you want.
Well, if it blows up,
Fireworks.
we don't want it.
No.
Right, well, I
But
mean,
I think it would be I think
don't-
it'd be a fantastic thing if you have an ice cream truck drive through or something like that. I mean, that'd
For
be like,
years,
I might have to buy an ice cream truck.
For years, Blacktail had a vendor out there, the Blacktail Dam Association, when they ran the campgrounds. They had a vendor who actually, the vendor also was the one where you paid for your camping spot and everything else. And that vendor had somewhat of a permanent spot every year. I think it was for about 3 years they had him out there, and they sold ice and all kinds of stuff.
Like I said, fireworks are a tough one. I mean, obviously, we don't allow fireworks in our parks. I mean, so it's tough to sell something we don't allow, you know. But I mean, those are the kind of requests I've gotten, and like I said, I love the idea of having the ice cream truck there, or having food trucks for when we have concerts. I love some of those things, but we just don't have anything in place right now. So just something I wanted to didn't want to just brush off, and all of a sudden it steamrolls us.
Well, I would think too, Jeremy, that the people that are staying out there, they're gonna dictate whether or not those vendors are gonna come or stay there.
Yeah, oh, absolutely.
One other thing to consider too is I believe that food trucks might be a land use thing that might also be regulated by the county zoning if they're out in the county. But because I know that we had this issue before when we were talking about transient merchants and licenses, things like that, that they decided to get rid of that and that it was going to be regulated by zoning. But I would have to double check with that, but I'm pretty sure there was a discussion about that, so.
Yeah, Lewis and Clark's little ice cream wagon that goes cruising around was hugely popular with my kids years ago.
I think, if memory serves me correct, Steve, I think, I don't know that they're doing that anymore. I think, what's her name goes out there once in a while now.
Yeah, they contract Suzy Q's ice cream or whatever that's called. Lewis and Clark State Parks contracts her to go through a certain amount of times. And they've got it pretty regulated. They're not allowed to drive, she's not allowed to drive around. She's got to go to one designated spot and stay there. And then she can go to a different designated spot, but she can't just drive along and stop anywhere she wants along the road. And she has certain days of the summer that she's contracted to be out there. So she's their ice cream person now.
It would be my wish to have 0 of those rules.
I think they're doing, what the parks did before, they just have them, the wagon pull up to the comfort station, and then everybody came there.
Well, I don't mean to throw a curveball at this, but the Schwan man drives through Blacktail all the time. So I think we may be creating an issue because it happens. I mean, I bought ice cream from the Schwan man. They drive through.
Yep.
If you're there on the right weekday, so I think we might be making a
I guess the other
problem.
thing is, Corey, is if the state can allow food trucks in the parks, I guess there's no reason why the county can't.
And all those food trucks, the food trucks they all have to go through the health department through the, anyway. So, they'd all have to be, yeah. For sure.
Not kids. I like ice cream, Brad.
So in general, is it safe to say that because food trucks are regulated already by the health department, we're good with the food trucks, and anything else we'd need to reconsider as a group? Okay, that works for me. Absolutely. All right.
When you mentioned like just being food, is that what we're just thinking? So it's not fireworks? I see the word vendors and I start thinking of where they're selling like Scentsy and Mary Kay and.
People need makeup when they're camping, though.
Blankets, yes.
We have a special event permit.
Special event permit.
That's what the water board has.
Okay.
So you might want to look at revamp it.
Okay.
Okay, what, parks updates?
Blacktail Dam, we're gonna go out this afternoon again. We've had problems with our swim ropes keep floating away. We're apparently not putting enough weight down, so we're working on that this weekend. We installed one new swing set at Blacktail, and we're gonna put up another one here this week. We purchased those swing sets earlier this year, and we started to put them in. Really excited about where the one we got installed now. When you go into the main campground area and you leave, and there's that ATV area everybody uses. We've kind of put that swing set up on one of those spots, so you have a really nice view of the lake, overlooking the lake. Kind of a neat little area. Put a couple benches out there too, so even if you didn't want to go on a swing, you could just go sit out there on a bench. I'm gonna start working along, just kind of start working along that idea of, part of the master plan is we're putting a trail all the way around, and just kind of start working on that trail a little bit to get us first from the campground to where those swings are, even if to start with, all we're doing is mowing the trail. So, but that's kind of a neat place. The next swing set we're putting in, we're gonna put in near the beach. And we're just gonna put in, that one's gonna be just for the little tykes, the little cradles, just for the infants or toddlers. And put that by the beach. Just think that's been hearing that a lot from young moms, that not just in our parks, but in general, everywhere in our area, we don't have enough swings for two sets of 2 swings, for 2 moms to take their kids and swing in those toddler seats or those infant seats. So I think that'd be a nice place to put one at the beach, just give mom something else to do with the real little ones there. So excited about doing those things. Epping Springbrook, we've done a lot of work right around that entryway, beach, fishing pier area, and it's coming together really nicely. Little Egypt, by the end of the week, we'll have all our picnic tables, fire pits, and hopefully, I don't know if we'll get to it by the end of this week, but we've got our approval to make all our sites pull through so we can pull those trees out. So I'm hoping, I don't think we're gonna start this week, but by the end of next week, we're gonna cut out those Russian olives. If you're familiar with it, all the sites up on top, there's a row of Russian olives between the sites and the road. And we can, I identified in our master plan 23 Russian olives to take out. And if we do, we can make all of those sites pull through. Also, the other advantage is also make it so we can level those sites out a lot better, because that last top part is level as opposed to the approach on some of those. Some of those are pretty steep. So I'm hoping next week that we're gonna start cutting down those trees. There's a lot of advantages to it. The other thing is the way that the campgrounds are set up right now are kind of backwards, because when you go in, your view out your front door is not the lake, to the west. So your view is to the west, and then that means also at night you have the sun hitting you. Whereas now, once we make them pull through, we'll be able to turn everything around. So now your view out your front door, your camper, is gonna be the lake, and then the sun's gonna set behind you rather than being in your face at night. So that's something that we're gonna hopefully start doing next week. That'll be a really nice, and then just making them pull through. Those sites some of those are a little steep, and just being able to not have to back them in. So hoping next week we're gonna start cutting down those trees. I'm pretty excited about that. Lookout Park, we got some, basically all we have left to do up there is some, we want to put in one more swing set, like I said, one of those little ones for the little guys, and then just some landscaping work. We got,
Jeremy, sorry to interrupt. One question, I drove by the pickleball courts.
Yep.
Is it an optical illusion that they're not level?
there's quite a slope there for sure. There's a big slope there, yeah.
Missed opportunity.
Yeah, there's a big slope there, yeah. When we installed it, I talked to the people who did, and he said, there'll be a little slope here. I said, do we need slope for drainage? And he said, yep, and it's quite a slope.
Yeah, it seemed like, man, if you hit the ball straight, it's,
Yeah, I'm curious to play.
yeah.
Yeah.
Improve your game from when you play
Yes.
on a level field.
It's certainly not gonna hurt mine, but other people, yeah.
McGregor, we're just doing a good job keeping up right now. We've got some projects we want to do there, but right now it's been a challenge with not having Nathan, who was there last year, our teacher. We end up taking a big crew over there once a week, or maybe once every 8-9 days, and have to go through, and all of us just go through that whole park to keep it maintained. It has been more of a challenge. Next year, that's the one part, staffing. I gotta find someone that lives closer to that area that would be willing to help and mow a little bit there, because we're having to send a crew over and go through it rather than having someone that just lives there, be there every day.
Any wiggle room yet from the Game and Fish on Wednesday?
None. They actually came through with a statement saying how happy they are with how everything's going and don't ask it to change. I don't know. There's a lot of them that Until we get, and honestly, until we get someone that wants to live there as a camp host, I don't think they're even gonna consider it. And it'd have to be someone that plans on living there every night. And that's all their properties. It's not just this, you know, there's a lot of properties they have that are like that. It's just that we're one of the few, us and Schmishik are,
Right, but they're, you know, they're that way on a lot of stuff, but most of them don't have the campground that McGregor has. I mean, so it's, I mean, they don't want something, you know, they want it all the same, but they're not all the same.
right, most of them are more wildlife management areas. And there are a couple campgrounds, like Schmishik's a little bit more of a campground, and a couple others, like McGregor, but not many. Most of them are just, yeah. But there's not a lot of wiggle room right now with them at that. Coteray, we just have been working on keeping it clean and nice. The shoreline looks really nice. Continues to be a really popular park on the weekends. Otherwise, I think that's all I got for parks update.
Madam Chair, may I ask one other question?
Yes, go ahead.
This is recently thought of, but would there be a possibility of working with the Corps somehow to get access to the levee that goes around out to the water treatment plant? And I'm thinking specifically of the what's next to Madison Ridge, what's south of Madison Ridge out there, where George and those folks all live down there. George House. Rio Vista, thank you. Rio Vista, kind of right below Rio Vista, and then the water treatment plant, but also West Acres and all those developments that are in. And my thought process, Jeremy, is just like a walking bike path. If we can get permission from landowners to get them down to the levee system, you can get all the way into town via that. The only other option, as I've ridden bike into town, is going on the frontage road, which is like playing Frogger. And people don't like cyclists on those roads, and they just soon run you off as anything else. So having a safe way to get down to like the levee or. It's gated. There's a motorized gate there. And you have to go backwoods, like down a steep slope to get down there. Done it. But I mean, at long range, just some thought process about getting access down. And I would think from either, because a lot of people walk the levee, and then you get right into town via bicycle safely if the Corps would let people walk or ride bicycle down to it, I would think.
Wouldn't they be concerned about erosion though on the dike? I mean,
You know, they let people walk and they get access in town. Yeah, I don't know.
well, I mean, because if you open, I mean, if you can get.
Right,
Steve, I don't know why they wouldn't, because if memory serves me correct, there's a walking path on the levee on the Little Muddy, east of town.
That's
It'd be
what
the
I was
same
thinking, just
situation.
extending it, and that would give you access to all those bike trails that are on the east side of town and along the Muddy, and, I mean, it would.
Call and talk to Corey or Jeremy, THC,
Yes.
not Jeremy, but Cody.
Sorry, you needed one more thing to do, like you needed,
That's, yeah, I hear from a lot of people that live in Rio Vista and West Acres, a lot of people saying that we need to have a trail to get to town.
Yeah.
A lot of people since I've taken this job, pretty much.
and it's a natural way. I mean, it just takes, it's actually as fast as any other way to get into town. Sorry, I
Yep.
didn't mean to sidetrack us here, but.
Okay, if nothing further,
I have one item, I think what was missed, under new business, park tours.
Oh, yep. Last week, or at our last meeting, Brad and Bo both, I think it was that mentioned to me that, maybe we should look at doing a park tour. I did send out an email, a couple options. I think that, you know, if you wanted to do it one day, it's a full day. If we wanted to break it up, you could break it up pretty easy into 2 days, a couple hours each. I don't, whatever I need to do to make it happen.
Any discussion on 1 day versus 2?
Do we have to advertise it as a meeting? Is that way?
Yep, yep. If there's gonna be 4 or more of you going on this tour, then yes, we have to advertise at a special meeting.
So are you gonna send out emails so we can all pretend that we're gonna match schedules? Because I can tell you right now, unless we're talking about September, I don't know when I'm gonna find a day that I can go. I mean, we gotta at least check dates.
Maybe the fall is the best time to do it.
I mean, and is that, I mean, do we wanna just pick a date range, like I said, like between between Memorial or Labor Day and our September board meeting? And try to find a couple dates there, 2 mornings there or something?
It's a good idea.
Okay,
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 anything further?
I'll send out those dates.
Okay. Move to adjourn, I guess.